How's it going, everybody? It's Riley's Redzone, and in today's video, I will be predicting the result of every Week 8 NFL game. So unfortunately, we did start off with a loss this week with, if you follow my Twitter, every game that happens before Sunday, I put on my Twitter to make sure I get the pick out. I went with the Bucks because I thought eventually they got to bounce back. They have not yet, so they have this losing streak going. But I still think at some point with Tom Brady, they're going to eventually bounce back. But a 3-game win losing streak right now is certainly something that they need to get back on the winning side to get some momentum. And the Ravens, just keep doing what they're doing, and they're having successful football. So let's talk about the rest of the games happening this week. We got a few upset picks. Let's start though with the game overseas that will be tomorrow morning, which is the Jags and the Broncos. It seems as though Russ might be ready to start, but I think the Jags in London are actually a very solid football team historically. I don't know why exactly, but they've built kind of a strong connection out there, and I think that eventually we'll have to see what happens in Denver. I mean, obviously Russ being out last week didn't result in a win, so I think they're just going to keep rolling with Russ. He obviously has not been playing his best football this year, but I think that the Jags can take care of business there in London. They're a slight favorite in this, but it's pretty close on the lines. Now, this one, technically an upset. This is, I got to say, this week overall, there's a lot of games I don't feel super confident in. I think this is one of them. The Patriots and the Jets. The Patriots get blown out against the Bears, of all teams, and that didn't feel very authentic. That didn't seem exactly what they normally do. And there's also, of course, the QB controversy. I think they're going to end up going with Mac Jones, it sounds like, to start the game, but I think if you keep switching, it's going to lower the confidence of both quarterbacks. But the Jets have been rolling. They keep on getting some wins, and they have been one of the big surprises this season. And on paper, it makes sense. Their roster is absolutely loaded. Zach Wilson is actually leading the team to victories. But at the same time, the Patriots, I feel like, are a good bounce back team. I always trust Bill Belichick, but I think for now, I'm gonna go with the Jets. It's a little bit of a safer choice. The line is super close. I believe it's about 1 point, so it's really a 50-50 here. So I'm going to go with the home team, but this really could go either way on that one. I'm going to take the Eagles over the Steelers. The line is at a little over 10 right now, so that's quite a significant margin. We'll see. The Steelers got that win against the Bucks, but I think that overall the Eagles somehow keep staying undefeated. I don't think it'll last the whole season, but they are doing a good job at playing football games. I think that Jalen Hurts is having a spectacular season at the quarterback position. They have all the weapons around him to have a successful offense, and then their defense is stepping up as well. So I'm going to take the safe choice there. I'm picking the Eagles over the Steelers. Now, the Cowboys and the Bears, the Bears get a big win this last weekend, but the Cowboys, to me, have been actually very, very consistent. They do lose Ezekiel Elliott this weekend, but Tony Pollard is a significantly capable running back, perhaps even at times more efficient than Zeke is. So I don't think they're going to have any problems. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here. I think they've been more consistent this season. The Bears have surprisingly shown some good games within their wins, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys here. Then my second upset this week. I think this is going to be super, super close. As a Vikings fan myself, it hurts to do this, but I'm going to go with an upset here. I just think eventually something has to go wrong for the Vikings. That's how it always seems to go, but more so the Cardinals. They lose Marquise Brown, but getting D-Hop back, and they trade for Robbie Anderson. They might get James Conner back this week. I think they have the pieces to get a little bit of a bounce back here going. The line is currently, it's dropped a little bit. Now it's down to 3.5, and I think that's about accurate. I remember this game last year came down to a field goal. I think it might come down to something like that this year too. I think this is going to be a nail biter, but I do think the Cardinals are going to come out on top here in one of my 3 upsets this week. So that is going to be a very interesting game. I think the Cardinals, though, eventually will have kind of a game like this that they got to be able to pull one out at some point. And the Vikings, I think, have kind of had, they haven't lucked their way through. They've been able to actually prove themselves and do some last minute, 2-minute drills and get a win. But I just think that at some point, you're going to lose a close game or you're going to win a close game that you don't normally. And now that transitions to the Lions, who always keep it close in a significant amount of games, or they get blown out. I think this will be a close one, actually. I could see this, but with Tua being healthy, when he is in the lineup, and he's got to take care of himself with the concussion issues this year. When he is in the lineup, he has been electric, at least for getting the team victories. And in the end, yeah, the best quarterbacks are gonna put up the stats and stuff. But for me, I care about the wins. I mean, you look at the teams that are winning right now, and you look at some top players like Tua, Daniel Jones, and Geno Smith. On paper, if you were to go into the season, you're probably not putting any of those guys in the top 20 quarterbacks, and they are teams with some of the best records right now. At least at times they've had like hot streaks this season where they are winning multiple games in a row. And so I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. I think that it actually could be a pretty close game. It's hard because I really like Dan Campbell. I think he is building good culture, but they just can't get the wins. And honestly, for their team, though, it's the best to kind of just rebuild. The Panthers and Falcons, I was really mad at myself because I literally said it in the video last week that the Panthers are like my almost upset of the week, the team that if the Bucs hadn't lost the week before, I was going to pick them as an upset. And they ended up getting it. I didn't quite pick them, though, last week. Now, this week, I think this will be a highly competitive game, but I'm going to go with the Falcons. And the Falcons are a team that has been, I'd say, performing above expectations. They are not lighting up the scoreboard in a fashion. I think that Brett Coleman just did a great video about Kyle Pitts and kind of explains it really well that, their system is not doing much for players statistically. And they're kind of running a bit of a predictable offense, but they are getting the wins out there. And in the end, that's what they're looking to do. And they're looking, if they can get that win, they're looking at the top division after this week. And that just seems crazy. But I think the Panthers actually are going to keep pulling off some sneaky upsets. But I don't think it quite happens this week. Then Raiders-Saints, I think this one could be a very good game. It's a close spread. The Raiders are only projected to win by 1. But I'm going to go with them here. Just don't quite have fully confidence in the Saints right now. But I think that I don't have really full confidence in the Raiders either, but I'm going to go with the Raiders overall. I think they have the better roster there, but that's going to be a close one. Titans-Texans is one of them that on paper, the Titans to me have a much better team and have been on a better season this year. But I think there is a feeling, I get that feeling, that this is a game the Texans could be able to pull off. And I wouldn't doubt that at all if that were to happen. Dameon Pierce, still my champion. Picked him in 3 out of 5 leagues for fantasy, and I did predict him to win Rookie of the Year. He is doing very well, and I think that, he's going to keep putting up good numbers that eventually might lead to a victory in some of these games. So I'm going to go with the Titans, but I do think this is going to be a very, very close game. Then we have Washington and the Colts. This one is super hard for me to pick because you got the Carson Wentz revenge factor. The Commanders are on a winning streak right now, but I don't have full confidence in them. But then the Colts, I'm going to say this. They've been right down the middle of the road. Matt Ryan did not perform up to the par, and so they are making the quarterback switch to Sam Ehlinger. I liked Sam Ehlinger coming out of Texas. He wasn't like one of my top quarterbacks in that draft, but I actually thought he was a very solid, underrated prospect. He just gets in there and he runs the game. He has a good build, and I actually like this idea. If the Matt Ryan experience is not working, you pull, kind of what the Texans did last year, right? With going with a Davis Mills, a mid-round pick, and he ended up, they went with him as the full-time starter this year. I think that this is a great opportunity. You look at this year's draft, too, there wasn't a lot of quarterbacks, but the Texans have a top pick that they figuratively could have. I think this is a great opportunity, if you're the Colts, to say, okay, we've gone down this veteran route. Unfortunately, it's not working. We still want to be a competitive team, but we're just not quite up to par this year. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go with Ehlinger here. See what you have in him, because he can manage a game. I mean, I think he actually will do a good job. I almost want to pick him this week. But I think they roll with Ehlinger. And if they struggle, maybe they can either with the draft and either mid-rounds or higher rounds, or even get a younger option perhaps through trade or free agency. Just swing at the board again. I think you should just see what you have in Ellinger before you fully move on. I like that decision. But the Commanders, I think, are a safer pick this week, although I think it's going to be really close. Niners-Rams, I went with the upset Niners last week, and they didn't quite get it done. I'm going the opposite this week, which means they might get a win, but it's a very close spread. It's a 1-point difference right now, maybe 1.5 it looks like. Between the two, I think being at home, the Rams have a solid roster. I'm going to go with them here. Even though I think the Niners are building something, I think they will gain some momentum. Right now, they're on a losing streak, so I'm going to go with the safe pick of the Rams. Even though it's an upset, I think there's a lot of elements that make it a safe pick. But I'm not fully confident in that one. It's going to be a close spread. So I'm going to go with the Rams just because I think they have the better roster, but wouldn't be surprised to see the Niners pull off an upset. Now, perhaps, honestly, the game of the week, maybe, besides like the obvious Packers-Bills, I think that this is underratedly one of the better ones. I think that the Giants and Seahawks, two teams that you kind of look at, how did they get here? And you have two quarterbacks that you didn't expect to necessarily perform up to the level that they have, but they have, and they're there for a reason. This is incredibly close to me. I think the home factor, again, just a game changer. At home for the Seahawks. Might be without DK Metcalf, but I think that they have enough offensively. Kenneth Walker is going to be putting in a Rookie of the Year level campaign. It looks like for the rest of the year, he's going to provide a spark to this offense. I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I just think the home field advantage, and I think they might spark a little bit more defensively than the Giants will be able to. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Super close game. Now, I say game of the week, right? Packers-Bills. On paper, it looks like those would be the best two teams. But if you look at the spread right now, the Bills are favored by 11 points. And now we also look at, there's a stat that I believe it's the Packers have never won in the stadium of the Bills. I on paper still think the Bills are the best team in the league. I've talked about it before. I had them as that before the season. Their edge rush depth is what provides them that extra spark. When you have four guys that can get in the rotation that would start on some teams, overall, I think that you have the depth there to rotate players in and out. And that's what comes key in, is actually having guys that can get in there and provide it so that you can keep your guys fresh. Now, here's what I'm going to say. This will look bad later tomorrow. But on paper, I think the spread is pretty significant. I would have to think, unless things have gone even worse than what the Packers have played in the last few games, I think they can keep this game within 10. I'm not going to say it's going to be a nail-biter, but I would think the Packers could keep this within 10 at least, if not even pull off an upset. So that would be, if I were to say one thing here, I actually think that Packers plus 11 right now, in my opinion, seems a little high. So I would figuratively go with the Bills overall, but I think this will be a closer game than what Vegas is saying here. I use Vegas to just see a kind of a reference of who is favored. I would say that this will be actually a pretty good game. I think that if you look at the Packers losing that many in a row, that's not great, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to overcome the Bills. But I also wouldn't be surprised. And, let's end with here the October 31st Halloween game. We got Bengals and Browns. I got two orange teams here. I'm going to go with the Bengals, although I think this could be a close game. I think the Browns are kind of riding it out. We'll see what happens when Deshaun gets back there. That'll be a whole different situation. But at the moment, Jacoby is a capable bridge starter, and he's doing his job. I just don't think, though, that they'll be able to overcome the Bengals' offense right now, even without Jamar Chase. I think that they, it's a reason they have the depth with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Wow, that really makes me realize I think T. Higgins is going to be a really good fantasy option in the next few weeks because he's underratedly always one of the best, but kind of gets overshadowed by Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is a solid ball player. So he'll fill in fine for the next few weeks. So I'm going to take the Bengals there, but that should be an entertaining one on Halloween night. So those are my picks for this week. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.